Oh, yes. Morning, people of the internet. I hope you're all having an awesome day and welcome back to the videos where today we're going to be having some fun with the R33 behind me. It never lives in the garage, but today is a very special occasion because we have a few very special parts. I think this is like the second last part that I would want before I went and got this thing tuned again to hopefully shoot for 400 or so horsepower. Anything above 350 I'm going to be pretty happy with. But yeah, 400 is like the main goal for 98. I reckon that'd be a little bit of fun. Anyway, aside from that, if you guys know Link ECU, we have a awesome G4X in this R33 and it has been nothing but incredible the whole time I've owned it. Every single time I've wanted to go and quickly check up on something, even for a noob like me, the whole Link software is really relatively easy to use. And then if I don't know the answer, Sam basically remotes in from Japan and does everything that I didn't know or checks over all my work or something like that. I've really come to like the Link software, the G4X, and it has been amazing in the R33. And so when Link found out that I didn't have a Can-Lambda Kit, apparently it's somewhat of a big deal, but I can 100% understand that. They were right on the game and they actually sent me out a Can-Lambda Kit. Now before I show you guys the actual product itself, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why this is important and why this is probably the biggest sensor that you would want to put on any car. Now, if you guys remember before we even rebuilt this engine out of OnSong Performance, the R33 itself, or we'll call it the STD33 back then, because that's what it was. This thing has had 4, maybe 5, possibly 6 RB25 DETs through it. Travis, who was the original owner of this car, has sent me many messages about this thing going off-road and blowing white smoke. As just this car has just basically lived an entire life of low compression and dirt drags. Now, just letting Travis, the old owner, know that the actual reason he went through so many engines was because this thing was running at a 17 AFR. You guys aren't hearing me wrong. A 17 air-fuel ratio, which is extremely lean. Extremely lean. And I'm not even talking about just 17 on idle. This was above 4,000 RPM, foot flat to the floor. And this is after I upgraded the fuel pump. Not the fuel pump wiring, just the fuel pump. The fuel pump wiring went bad on this car and it has been running, I don't even know for how long, but at a 17 AFR, potentially 18 in some cases. And that is the reason why we went through so many engines on this car. It was so incredibly bad. There is one single sensor that would have saved Travis a whole bunch of money, even though these things were like 500 bucks back in the day. But either way, reading your AFRs whilst on the go is certainly a must-have. And that is where this comes in, the Can-Lambda wideband sensor kit. This thing is really going to help dial in the R33. And if you guys don't know exactly what this is, this right here is a wideband O2 sensor. This is a Bosch 4.9, and this basically just goes straight in where your O2 sensor goes in your exhaust. And this will read the ratio between air and fuel in your exhaust. So that way you can make sure that your engine is not running too rich or too lean, because too lean will blow your engine, too rich will just do some funky things as well. With this, we are going to be able to do a whole bunch more with the Link software. I'm so excited to get it all sorted. So I'm going to show you guys everything that comes in the kit. So before we get started, I want to give Link a massive thank you for this entire setup that they've just given me. So this right here is a Can-Lambda wideband kit. And this is everything that it comes with. The only thing you guys will have to go out and purchase is CAN wiring and a plug and everything. Well, I'll show you that in just a second. So anyway, this is everything the kit comes with. So you guys can see we have a wideband O2 bung, but what we're actually going to be able to do is we're just going to be able to use or utilize, this is just another dump that I have at the moment. We're going to be able to utilize the actual bung that's already into the exhaust. This is the bit that will actually go into your exhaust and read the air fuel ratio. This right here is the Can-Lambda control block. And they also give you a plug as well, so you can pin your positive, negative, as well as CAN high and CAN low as well to plug straight into that, as well as a few extra little stickers as well we're going to be playing around with. And they also give you a wiring diagram as well, so pretty much what you're going to be looking for is positive, negative, CAN high, and CAN low. Now, I've already actually done the wiring for the system, which I'll quickly show you. I did it all off camera before we even started, so this will be a nice, quick, and seamless process, but I've opened everything up, the ECU and everything, so I can show you exactly where to plug everything in. So luckily for me, I did have a dash in this car, which means I already have all the CAN wiring already installed. However, I've just simplified it all so you guys can see. This right here is the Link ECU when you open it all up, and as you guys can see down here, this is where your CAN wiring will plug into. If I can focus it, that'd be nice. So you guys can see CAN 1 just right there. And you guys can also see that we have matched up our whites, which is a CAN high, and the blue is CAN low. Now, not only that, I've also spliced into the cigarette lighter as well for the positive and negative for the ECU, and I'll show you everywhere it comes out on the engine bay side as well. So once again, if you have one of these plugs right here, CAN high and CAN low, it is pin 2 and 3 on the ECU. If you guys are looking at that, pin 3 being the CAN high. And it basically just comes out of the ECU and goes straight into the engine bay. So that's everything inside the car, and it just comes straight through the firewall and straight to here. So it comes out the firewall, as you guys can see right down there, comes down up through here. I haven't found a place to mount anything just yet, but this is our CAN high and low, as well as our positive and negative. So this one right here, I didn't have any wire sleeving, so I found a few little bits here and there to try and make the nicest loom possible. So I made everything extra long, so that way we can just work it all out a little bit later. But yes, as you guys can see, we have our positive, we have our negative, which is the one indicated with the black electrical tape there, and then we also have our CAN high and low. So now it's just a matter of installing the O2 sensor right in that bung right there. All right, so this is the bit that gets a little bit controversial, and that is the O2 sensor placement. Now, it's not really controversial because everyone knows that it should be a little bit further down the exhaust than just at the dump. And originally I was going to take this thing down to go get the exhaust done, but because we're going to be changing around the exhaust in the very near future on this car, especially to go with a little bit bigger power, I don't see a point going down and changing the O2 sensor location as of yet and welding in a new bung. After having a little bit of a chat to Sam, he has got rid of the original O2 sensor and just placed the wideband straight into the top of the dump, which is what we're going to be doing today. Now, this is not the most ideal place. They recommend to put O2 sensors between 12 and 36 inches down the exhaust, which would put it around the catalytic converter area and not right at the top of the dump right there. However, this is what we're going to be doing today. So yes, once again, ideally you would put the O2 sensor further down the exhaust, and you would at least have it sitting not flat on the exhaust, but at least at a 10-degree angle to make sure that nothing collects on the top of the sensor and could potentially foul it out even quicker. Sam over in Japan has had this on his S15 as well as his R33 for years now, and he has had no issues. In my case, it'll most likely just be the sensor will obviously foul out a little bit quicker. In my case, we might just be changing sensors every few years, which is completely fine with me. I have no issues with that at all. So that's where we're going to be putting it today. And then when we go get a proper exhaust on this car, we're going to be changing the location of that and putting it a little bit further down the exhaust. So we're going to be doing that today. So yes, once again, don't ridicule me in the comments. I'm sorry. This is not the most ideal location for an O2 sensor. It will probably prevent it from lasting as long as it could. However, this is going to be the easiest thing that we're going to be doing today, and it saves me having to go down and weld in a new bung today. So first of all, let's get that original O2 sensor out, get rid of all the wiring, and then we can start playing with our Can-Lambda location. So let's do it. So we have the Bosch 4.9 wideband sensor in, so now we have to figure out the location of our little Can-Lambda unit. So I'm not quite sure exactly where we're going to mount this just yet. I don't have a nutset gun, so I can't really make any new locations as of yet. But once again, ideally, eventually, we're going to pull this whole engine out. We're going to completely redo the engine bay and have some fun with the engine. So I'm not quite sure exactly what we're going to do just yet, but we're just going to work at a nice location where it's all going to sit. The other thing is we also don't want this sensor right here to reach temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius. We want to keep it nice and cool in the engine bay somewhere it's not going to get too hot, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll try and find a nice little location somewhere. It's nice and tucked up out the back there, and yeah, see how we go. Find a nice little spot down the very front here where I can show it off, show you guys really well in a video on how it's all going to work, and also keep it nice and securely mounted. So it's found a nice little unused hole there. So now we have this extremely long cable that would usually go down to the exhaust. They give you more than enough cable on this right here. So what we have to do now is run this down to the front. So I'm just going to use this existing loom down the front here and hide all the excess wire down underneath the catch can there to make it all look nice. And then we'll just plug it straight into there. So let's do that. Alright, Alright, so as you guys can see, it's all nice, tucked up and out of the way. We will zip tie it down to the other wiring harness that's currently sitting down there, and everything is hiding underneath the catch can there. So now we get to make a plug for this one right here. So I don't have a crimping tool as of yet. I know I really need to get like a proper ratchet crimping tool, but anyway, let's go get the plug and we'll start plugging some stuff in. So on the back of the quick start guide as well, we also have our wiring diagram, basically for the plug. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so this right here is now going to be the fun bit. Sorry if it's a little bit dark, the brightness outside is horrible, but I've pinned up every single one of these right here. See if I can focus on this a little bit better. There you go. So I have my little Link ECU connector information here, as well as I've pinned up every single one of these right here. So now it's just time to put it into the plug itself. So this is just as simple as they all have numbers on the back of it. So can high, which is our white, goes into position 4. So this one right here, and it slides all the way in. Can low is our blue, which goes into number 3. Now our power, which is our positive, will go into position 1, and our negative, or our ground, will go into position 2. And just make sure they're all pushed through as much as they possibly can be. Probably need some help with some needle nose pliers here, but that's all right. Now once all those little connections are all at the very top there, I'm just going to double check it with the actual plug itself. So we should be looking at positive, negative, can high, can low. Yep. So number 4 is, yeah, can high. 4 can high. So looking at the actual plug itself, positive and negative going to positive and negative, can high and can low going to can high and can low. So that's perfect. So now we just grab this little orange piece right here, and that just slides straight down in here. And this just keeps all the little things mashed together, clamps it all down, and that way we have a nice watertight thing right there. Looks really nice. Hell yeah. Right, so this is now my wire that goes down. So this has my can high, can low, positive and negative, and I even put a little bit of a shield around it as well. This is probably the nicest thing that I've ever made, wiring wise, not gonna lie. Would be a little bit nicer if I had some nicer like wire protector and actually had some heat shrink to make that look good. But at the end of the day, it's going to work just fine. It's going to keep it nice and protected. And once again, we're just going to run that wire down through there, down beside the turbo down there, and I've all zip tied all out the way. But before I tighten anything down or do anything, the only thing that's tight is the wideband sensor, of course. Before we do any of that, we're going to plug the laptop in. We're going to set up the wideband in the Link software, and then from there, we can start the car up, make sure we're reading an AFR, make sure we're reading a value of some description, and then we can start zip tying everything up out the way. So yeah, that's all good. I'm pretty happy with that actually. Really well set up. Hell yeah. Rightio, so I got some old MX vs ATV Unleashed beats going on at the moment. We got Revolution by Authority Zero currently going. It's mint. I love listening to it while I work in the cars. I don't know why. It's like a little bit of nostalgia. I need to get that game again. Anyway, I left my laptop at work, so luckily Sarah is now updated with the latest and greatest PC Link software. So we're inside the ECU at the moment. Now there's a few things we have to do to set up the wideband. So I'm going to quickly open up the instructions, which is just online. So now we can go down to the installation, which is the setup with Link. So if we go down to, there you go, setup with Link ECU, there you go. So now we're just going to go through, I'm just going to change all of these settings right here. I'll let you guys screenshot that if you guys are watching along at home. Set up everything on the setup guide here, and we will start her up, I guess. Oof. So this is where, in typical ZacBaldy fashion, things go south, as usual. No, just joking. So today is actually day 2 of the Can-Lambda install, and it's actually 100% done at the moment. So yesterday I didn't have my laptop here, and I tried to use Sarah's laptop to do all the programming from the ECU. Because I was using version 0.16 of the Link G4X software, I was severely outdated by probably like a year or so, and there'd been so many updates. So I got Sarah's laptop, downloaded the new software onto her computer, and then tried to download the firmware onto the ECU. And unfortunately, because of using Sarah's laptop, I tried to update it, and I don't know whether her laptop, one of her USB ports mustn't have been working, but what it did was when I tried to do the firmware update, ended up getting halfway through, and then it cut off from the ECU. So it wouldn't connect into any more of her USB ports. After about an hour or so, I managed to get the ECU to connect to the USB port, and it said the ECU was in boot mode. And I'm like, oh no. So I was hoping that maybe it might have had a running tune in it, tried to turn it over, and sure enough, the car wouldn't fire, the car wouldn't start. So now came the very long waiting process of waiting for Sarah to finish work so she could jump to Empire Tint, which is where I work, and go grab my laptop to hopefully sort out and update the ECU to run with the new firmware. And I'm gonna show you guys right now. So about 6 p.m. last night, I managed to get the ECU firmware update on my computer. So I managed to find that Sarah's laptop was completely, I don't know what happened to her laptop. Probably about the fact that she's had that laptop since probably like year 7, and the amount of antivirus softwares that she thinks she needs on that laptop is absurd. So she had like Malwarebytes, McAfee, Windows security. She had so many different things, which I think was the reason as to why basically the whole computer was trying to upload this firmware onto an ECU, which was a completely foreign sort of like USB for it. And yeah, her computer just fried. So her computer's fine, my ECU wasn't. I managed to fix it with my running and working laptop, which is awesome. So the ECU is now sorted with the software, and I'll show you guys how everything looks underneath the bonnet, so that way you guys can get a good idea on how all the wires are run, exactly how everything looks. So coming out the firewall underneath the catch can, you guys can see all of my wires, as well as the positive, negative, as well as the CAN bus wire. So coming around the side of the turbo, which I still have to cut all those little zip tie bits off. You guys can see it comes around to the Can-Lambda module. Then the Can-Lambda module has the wideband sensor all wired up and into the top part of that exhaust right there, which is running flawlessly. And inside the car, sorry it's a little bit of a mess, but we still have the ECU lying on the floor at the moment. We can see the CAN wires going in, which just connects to the high and low in the ECU circuit board. So linked down below is the instructions on how to set up the Can-Lambda software, how to set up the actual module and everything on the ECU. So if you run through all of them, I did that within like 5 minutes or so. So it was working on the computer. Now we just had to make it work with the tune that we had. So once again, I didn't have my camera on me, but you guys might have seen on Instagram that Sam remote tuned my ECU once again from Japan. This bloke is a madman, and I cannot thank him enough for all the help that he has given me over the last couple of years actually. This bloke has 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. This bloke works his absolute arse off, travels so much, does so much work, and still finds an hour out of his day to come on, have a chat to me, and tune my car, which is so nice. He made sure that we were reading an AFR, which we were, which is awesome. I managed to set up the entire system flawlessly, which is awesome. So he went through and he set up all the fuel targeting. So what we did was in between 1,500 and 3,600 revs, what it would do is the ECU will actually now target a specific AFR, which we have targeting a really good AFR. So it'd be nice to street as well as get good fuel economy as well. So the ECU will now determine exactly how much fuel goes into the car to keep everything nice and happy, which is awesome. And then above 3,600 RPM, the map will revert back to what we have tuned it at, and I can monitor the AFRs from that as well. Once again, it is a brilliant tuning tool to have. Me and Sam can now have a bit of a play around with making this car even a little bit faster. I'm not quite sure, but in terms of like when I can get a new turbo in this thing, which is coming very, very shortly, which is very cool. Once again, massive thank you to Hypergear. We've got some very cool stuff in the works. But when I get my new turbo, it means I can do a little bit of street tuning myself, learn a little bit more about the car, and then we can send it to Darren and actually get it finally tuned as well, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, being able to read AFRs and being able to target AFRs now on the tuning software is absolutely awesome. Once again, I want to give a massive thank you to Link for sending me out the Can-Lambda Kit. I hope you guys all have learned something. Make sure you use a good laptop when you're trying to connect to the ECU. Once again, don't use a laptop that has a whole heap of antivirus softwares on it, because it most likely will not work. A little bit stupid of me to give it a shot, but hey, I didn't know what I was going to do. I managed to fix it and I was pretty happy about that. But yes, anyway guys, thank you so much everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.